Okay, we're streaming. Hooray. So today we're going to go over Keyshot stuff. Class busy getting Keyshot on their computers and getting the whole like awful floating license thing set up. The assignment that we're going to talk about the assignment and kind of go over some really there we go. Yes. Did it go? No, try it again. Okay, it's up. We're gonna try opening Keyshot again. Hey, it worked that time. Great. Okay, so two quick things. This is Keyshot. There are a bunch of different menus and things that you can get into. If when you open your Keyshot you don't see any of these cool menus, you can access all of them down in the very bottom of your viewport. Library and project are the two that I usually have open at any given time. And to start things off, I will show you guys how to open up the benchmark file. So you'll want to go up to the file menu and say open, and it'll point you to it should point you to a folder that has all of these stock scenes. Scenes are collections of models and lighting and viewport settings inside Keyshot. If not, you'd want to navigate to the scenes folder and find this camera benchmark file and say open. Discard any changes that you have, open, and this is what you should see. Without moving it around, without clicking anything with your mouse button, you'll want to hit the H key on your keyboard, and you should see up in the top corner of your rendering a bunch of numbers start to appear. The top one is the one I'm interested in. It's frames per second, and it's sort of a loose indication of how fast your CPU, your computer's main processor, is churning through the data that it needs to make this rendering. My computer looks like it's hovering right around like upper 50s. I think as long as you guys are somewhere in like the 20s range, this will be an okay tool for you guys to use for this class. I've built PCs. There are PCs out there that render a lot faster, and you can actually buy time on like server farms to run at thousands of frames per second. That's really useful if you're doing animation and you need to render like hundreds and hundreds of images to make an amazing, beautiful animation. We don't really do a whole lot of that in this class, so anyway, it's just a benchmark. Okay, so let's talk about Keyshot stuff. There are a couple things that I want to show you how to do in Keyshot. The thing that I guess your assignment for over the weekend is to actually take the model that you made of your smartphone earlier this semester, bring it into Keyshot, and then also import the model of the phone accessory that you designed for your phone, bring that into Keyshot, and make a rendering. So first things first, how do you import something into Keyshot? Go up to the file menu, and actually I'm going to start a new one so I can get out of this camera really quick. No, don't save any changes. You know what, I'm going to open Keyshot again just so I have like stock viewport settings. That stock render file has like a smaller viewport anyway. So you'll want to go up and import a file. And fortunately, Keyshot can actually open native Solidworks files, which is not something it was always able to do. So I'm going to go back to, let me see, all my OSU stuff, and find that smartphone that I created. Not submissions. Ooh, actually, I could open one of yours. That'd be kind of fun.
You want to render mine?
Yeah, well, someone who has like a 3D like something relatively small that holds the phone. What was yours, Dexter? The bed thing? Okay, we'll choose yours for now, just so that we have it. Yours is like the cool like mushroom things, but they might be a little big for, anyway. I mean, they won't be too big, but let's see what happens. So I'm going to open up the phone that Dexter made. Oh no, your last name is on YouTube now. Whoops. And all of these stock settings I'm not going to mess with right now. I'm just going to say import and see what happens. Keyshot will kind of churn through things, and voila, there's my phone inside Keyshot. I can use my left mouse button to rotate things around. Of course, that's different than SolidWorks, but you'll also notice that there's no like materials applied to this phone. One thing you'll want to check is over on the right side of Keyshot, you'll see a bunch of different tabs. Go to the Scene tab if it isn't already open, and you should see the model right here inside Keyshot. So it actually imported all of the different areas, all of the different solid bodies of this phone, which is great. So the next thing that we're going to want to do after we import a model is sometimes change its position. And in Keyshot, you can do that by either clicking on the model itself or clicking on the model inside this, what is essentially like a feature tree. You'll want to make sure that you click like the top level model rather than something inside the model, so you move everything all together. But once you click that, you can look down at this position tab, and you can either type in locations to change the position of your model, or you can use this handy move tool and you can rotate your model around, you can move it up and, oops, that's scaling. I don't want to scale. Hold on, let's go back out of that. You can move it up and down, left and right, you can rotate it, and if you want your model to like touch the ground, there's a handy little snap to ground button. So anyway, that's how I want my model to be, green check mark. So there's my phone in space. That's how you move things around in a model. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want to do in Keyshot is apply some materials to your phone. If you notice when you're zooming in and out, your model's like off to one side. If you click your middle mouse button down and drag, that's how you can kind of reposition your model. Again, different than SolidWorks, but you'll get used to it. In Keyshot, it's as simple as just dragging and dropping materials onto your phone. So, let's say I want to have that like satin aluminum kind of finish on the back. I can scroll through and like look for metal, find aluminum, open up aluminum, find like basic aluminum materials, and just see what it looks like. And for like satin finish aluminum, I know the basic like kind of textured aluminum is close enough for this kind of purposes. You'll also notice that like it turned the entire phone that color. And there are a couple reasons for that. We're going to get into this a lot more in detail like in the coming weeks. The biggest reason that happens is that Keyshot likes to treat an entire SolidWorks model as like a single part with shared materiality. There are some things you can do inside a SolidWorks file to sort of break up those different surfaces, and that's probably the best way to do things. I believe there are, okay, so if your phone is like Dexter's phone right off the bat, where if you apply a material to one part of it and it applies it to the whole phone, that's fine for this assignment. I just want you guys to like bring it in, bring whatever you have in, and play around with what it looks like in space. Okay, let's add another part to this file. So I'm going to go up and say import and find Dexter's stand hanging charger thing, and Keyshot also likes SolidWorks assemblies, which is kind of crazy. So we're going to try... Do you know if it's 1 or 2, Dexter? You don't? That one looks... Well, let's just try 1. When you go to import another file to a Keyshot file, it'll ask you if you want to add the new part to the scene or start again. Yeah, we want to add it to this scene. I'm just going to say go ahead and import. Okay. Wait, that's a mailbox. Must have been the wrong assignment. Okay, we imported the wrong thing here. If you need to delete a file, like a model from inside Keyshot, you can find it in the scene tab, right-click it, and then just hit delete, and it should get rid of it. Yeah, let's try this again. So import. It's not less than 8. Is it 6? Maybe we'll try someone else's then. That's fine. Laura, we'll bring in yours.
Hey, Will. There's 2 parts. Is Keyshot really small?
Wait, these are all like mailbox things. It's weird.
Is this like supposed to be the...
Fine, we'll try Gabriella's. Oh, but I don't have all the part files for Gabriella's. This demo is turning into something kind of silly here. Where's your kickstand? I wonder if it's where it's supposed to be. Alright, I'm just going to go and re-download this stuff from... Oh, it's 7, not 8. Alright.
I fixed it. I gotta work on mine. I can show you. Yeah. I'm gonna go over there. Here, I'll come over there.
Apparently it's not 7. Ha! Got it. Okay. Alright. It looks like Dexter's phone is actually in this also, which is kind of cool. Which is fine. Alright, so I'm going to use my move tool. Turn these upright. Like that. Okay. Alright, Dexter, what kind of material would you want to put on your case? I guess we could do like 3D printed plastic. That's okay. We'll get into that too. One of the materials you can download from Keyshot Cloud is a 3D printed plastic. So I applied the material. If the material doesn't look weird, just know that you can change the material properties. Don't worry about doing this. Just drag and drop a material that you think looks cool for now. I'm going to change something really quick here to the material to make it actually work. And was yours printed this way?
Yes.
Like that. Cool. Okay, so applying materials, importing models into the scene, those are two important things that you can do. Positioning models, repositioning models, that's another thing. One more thing I'd like to show you guys really quick is changing a lighting scheme. In Keyshot, this is known as like messing with the environment. And over on the left side, there are a bunch of tabs. One of those tabs is called the Environment tab. And you'll notice that there are a bunch of like stock environments for lighting your object. I would just play around with how these change how your object looks. And if you go to the Environment tab on the right side as well, you can rotate the environment independently of how your object rotates. And it should give you some shifting highlights on your actual object. Like let's say I wanted to emphasize the edge of my object and not wash out the front face. I can rotate my scene around until it's highlighting exactly what I want it to highlight. If I don't like this lighting scheme, if it's not giving me the light that I want, I can switch to some other cool stuff too. So this is where it can get fun. You can spend a lot of time messing around with lighting schemes to match your object in space. And another thing that we're going to talk about as like its whole entire lesson, like later on in the semester, is you can create your own lighting schemes from scratch using the HDRI editor. It's a really intuitive way to light your objects, and it's a great way to actually create underlays or reference for yourself about the objects you're designing, so you can sketch them or modify an existing render with sketching in Autodesk Sketchbook Pro. It's just a really powerful tool. So I want you guys to just mess around, find a lighting scheme that looks nice. One tip for you might be to go to like Apple's website or look up smartphone ads and find a rendering that you think looks really great, and then try and mimic that lighting in your rendering, just to see if you can set up your scene in a way that looks similar to something you can find online. It might mean changing the position of your object to be something that matches, I don't know, something you see online. Another thing that you can do, you'll notice when I drag a new environment over here, I'm actually seeing the environment, right? Like I see that light, I see the ground plane. Usually in a rendering, the lighting is important, but you don't actually want to see it. In the Environment tab on the right side, you can actually say, instead of showing the lighting environment in the background, you can just show a flat color. It will still apply the lighting that you drag over here, but it's just going to treat the background as whatever color you want it to be. So you could say, yeah, I want this like a dark gray background for some reason, and I want to find a lighting scheme that's like super dramatic. Actually, this one tends to look kind of cool on.
You can also rotate your controls down, control and drag it to the left mouse.
You can rotate the, okay, that's cool. Dexter said you can also rotate the environment by holding control as you drag with your left mouse button. So anyway, that's just going to take some playing around to find controls and things that you like. But yeah, so those are the basic things that you can do, some of the basic things you can do in Keyshot. Applying materials and lighting. Eventually we're going to talk about how to split up your model so you can apply lots of different materials to your model. We'll talk about editing lighting schemes, and we'll talk about a whole bunch of other in-depth stuff that you can do in Keyshot that's really cool. The last important piece of information in Keyshot that you want to know is how to set up a render. Once you have your viewport looking the way you want for your rendering, you're going to hit this render button down on the bottom menu, and it will bring up a whole bunch of other settings. Output, this is the actual image that you're generating. I'm going to recommend that you guys always do your renderings as Photoshop files, PSDs. They take up a lot less space than a TIFF, but they also are not lossy. They don't have lossy compression. Whatever that is, don't worry about it if it doesn't mean anything to you. It's a really flexible file format, and a lot of the editing that we're going to do after a rendering will take place in a Photoshop file. We'll get there, don't worry, that's later this semester too, and probably also next semester. So yeah, just pick Photoshop file, choose a resolution that's at least 1600 pixels by something. Resolution is just how big your image is going to be. High resolution also takes a lot longer to render. I just recommend always rendering at least like 1600 pixels large. Ignore these settings for now. You are going to want to go to your options menu. These are your settings for how high quality your rendering is. The most important thing that I can tell you to do is to turn off global illumination cache. I don't want to get into why that's important yet. Just know that there are materials that will not render how you expect them if global illumination cache is on. Always keep that off. And these stock settings for now are fine for your first rendering. There is a way that you can queue up jobs in Keyshot. Don't worry about that right now. But once you have gone through and picked Photoshop, you can say render. It'll open up a brand new window and take its time rendering your file. This is where you'll see just how like grainy or beautiful your rendering actually is, depending on your rendering settings. I just picked really basic ones for now. And this file, once green check mark is up here, should save actually in the output. That was something we could pick. Let me just go back here and output. Yeah, it will save it by default in the Keyshot 6 renderings folder, which is something that you can navigate to using this path. And I forgot to give it a name. You'll want to title your files also. So this might be like, well, I guess this is Dexter phone accessory or something like that. Anyway, that's fine. Yeah, so that's how you render things in Keyshot. Again, very, 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 very basic overview of this stuff. Question?
So you want a separate file for each one you want one? Like if I didn't use my phone, I can just do it in Keyshot.
What I would like you guys to do for this is import your phone model, import your accessory model into the same Keyshot file, and do a single rendering, like the glamour shot of your objects in space. Does that answer your question? So it should just be one rendering.
So like my cube accessory or whatever is on Mac phone.
Oh, that's right, your cube.
So
It does kind of. Like, your phone has to be near it when it's charging, I suppose. So just put them in the same space and imagine how they might be near each other for this rendering. So like yours is a cube that plugs into the wall. You could just like set up your objects so they're sitting on the ground next to each other, and that's fine. Or you can imagine like one is sitting on top of it, plugged into the wall. That's fine too. Try and pick a composition that, again, taking one step back. I mean, phone accessory. This is an image that I'd like you to put on your Thingiverse page to just sort of show people the size of that object. By putting it next to your phone, it's going to communicate scale, I suppose. So, yeah. If you wanted to be ambitious, you could actually like model a cord and render your objects and with the power thing and the cord, but that's not a requirement for right now. Yeah.
even though it's definitely 3D printed, does that restrict us like when we render it, can I render it in like another material?
Yeah, you can render in whatever material you want. Go nuts. Yeah, that's fine. Like if you wanted to show this thing in, I don't know, some crazy like wood.
Wooden iPhone.
Sure, like, ooh, burled chestnut iPhone wall holder case thing. That's fine. Try to render your phone in a material that is realistic for the phone. And if your phone is like Dexter's right now anyway, where it's all one material, it's fine to just pick one of the materials that would be on your phone. There are a lot of ways to break up a phone in Keyshot and in SolidWorks. I don't need to worry about it right now, not for this first pass. Some of you probably already know how to break it up. That's fine too. Yeah.
How eventually you get down the textures from
Sure. The question was, I mentioned earlier that you can download textures, materials, environments, all sorts of things from this thing called Cloud. Down in the very bottom left-hand corner of Keyshot, there's this link to Cloud Library. You will have to set up an account, and wow, I still have my old Zoku account. That's cool. So create an account, and this repository, basically anyone in the world can upload a material to this. So there are some really, really bad materials, and there are also some really, really good materials, and ones that have been provided by like Keyshot's internal team. If for some reason you can't find a material you like in Keyshot's stock library, this is not a bad place to look. You can search for things like, I wanted like 3D printed material. So hey, look, there's a whole bunch that came up. Each material, you'll see like how many times it's been downloaded, how many times it's been liked. That's fine. I wonder, let's see, polypropylene. Yeah, that might be it. No. Anyway, if you're looking for like a very specific, I don't know, type of plastic or something, this is not a bad place to look. All of these materials are usually materials that you can create in Keyshot. Keyshot has like a very robust material creator with like a million settings that you can play with. We'll probably have an entire lesson about creating custom materials. One material I had to create, I wonder if I ever uploaded that. How do you spell popsicle? No result. Nice. Back when I was working for Zoku, we rendered a lot of popsicles, and maybe they're not actually up here, but I ended up creating a material for frozen orange juice, and like added a bunch of texture mapping. We actually photographed some macro shots of frozen ice crystals and found the right colors and translucency and mapped like a material so that anything that we built in Keyshot we could render as if it was frozen orange juice. It's kind of cool. You can go as deep as you want on that kind of stuff. So it exists, and we'll get into that. Probably for most of the stuff that you guys do, you might be tweaking material color, but you probably won't have to go into the weeds on like super custom materials. Fortunately, Keyshot has a lot of really good stock materials that they have a whole team of people putting together, like really, really high quality stuff. Another custom material I had a chance to work on, and actually you should be able to see it, was this rope on these water bottles. Actually, so this is a Keyshot rendering, and that is a texture material that was mapped onto a Keyshot rendering to make it look like it was a piece of climbing cord, wherever it went. Yeah, so that's a Keyshot rendering where we actually made a custom material to do that. Is this a good one? Yeah. These are all Keyshot renderings.
I feel like I'm being lied to.
No. No. And some of these are even like really kind of fast. But yeah, these are all Keyshot renderings.
I always thought that those were just pictures.
Nope. Yep, Keyshot. And you can kind of tell. Well, I don't know. You'll get used to it. I can tell when things are renderings, but yeah. You should be able to see where these materials like overlap a little bit. Anyway, there's a lot that you can do in Keyshot to make stuff look pretty good. And honestly, like these days, it takes a lot less effort than it did like when I was in school. Keyshot wasn't really even around. So if you guys have a really powerful tool in your hands, Keyshot's like a, I don't know, $1,500 piece of software. I guess it's not as much as SolidWorks, but with those two and then Photoshop, you can do like
I feel like I can like
anything.
manipulate people's beliefs.
Oh yeah.
Like with product design. I don't
Oh, we're still streaming.